Advocacy Project, Mental Health Awareness.
Jessica Fuller.
And Megan Zarowski. Jessica and I have witnessed the need for immediate resources for individuals and families struggling with mental illness and have decided to voice the struggles of a silenced population. Mental health advocacy is a topic that I have found myself involved in the past few months and is something that I feel strongly enough about to make it my future career. When speaking with Jessica about my passion for those who have mental illness, she also expressed her desire to get involved and make a difference. Our hometown of New Bern, North Carolina is a small city struggling to reach the needs of the mentally ill. Unfortunately, since mental health facilities have become privatized due to the lack of state and federal funds, there are significantly less treatment in long-term care facilities in our state. Local professionals are unable to provide for the surmounting numbers of clients in our area, with few places to use as resources. Our papers and this presentation set out to explore individuals 18 and older suffering from mental illness, as well as the current mental health care for these individuals provided by our hometown of New Bern, North Carolina. Through sharing personal experiences and interviews with caring professionals in this area, Jessica and I will advocate for a change in our mental health care, thus providing better assistance to those who are affected by mental illness.
According to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, also known as NAMI, a mental illness is when a person's mood, feelings, or way of thinking are altered. Then the person is unable to relate and function normally with others. This means that a person who is mentally ill is either mentally unstable, mentally handicapped, or has altered their state of mind by the abuse of substances. It is important to realize that people who struggle with mental illness do not all share the same signs and symptoms, even when sharing the same diagnosis. Instead, each experience will be unique to that individual.
1 in 5 adults experience a mental health disorder every year.
41% of adults with non-severe mental illness, such as dysthymia, social anxiety, and other disorders, received services in the past year.
62.9% of adults with severe mental illness, such as schizophrenia, paranoid, and other psychotic disorders, received services in the past year.
Adults with severe mental illness die on average 25 years earlier, usually due to treatable medical conditions.
With severe mental illness costing America $193.2 billion in lost earnings per year, it is important for us as a society to focus on the needs of this population and enhance the services available to them. By bettering services that already exist and making improvements, this underserved population can begin getting the aid that they deserve.
In order to discover where improvements need to be made in regards to New Bern's mental health care, Megan and I set out to interview local professionals in our area.
The first individual that I interviewed was Ms. Fran Spazzinati, a nursing clinical instructor at Crossroads, our local hospital's mental health facility. She has been involved in working with adults suffering from mental illness for about 30 years. Lynn Durham is the second individual that I interviewed for this project. She is a clinical social worker that works for New Bern's Mobile Crisis Unit. Ms. Durham has been involved in working with adults suffering from mental illness for about 20 years. The final individual that I interviewed for this project was Beverly Lynch. Ms. Lynch has been involved in working with adults suffering mental illness for 24 years and is our local district attorney in New Bern, North Carolina, who also works as a victim's advocate.
For this project, I interviewed Mr. Jesse Pittman, who was the administrative captain at Craven County Jail and is also a part-time pastor at News Baptist Church. He's been involved in his career for 23 years and sees the many kinds of people who are involved in the county's correction system. His wife, Miss Jennifer Pittman, agreed to also interview with me, and she works as an administrative officer at Port Human Services. She has worked there for 9 years and sees firsthand the mental community struggling to get the health care they need. The last person that I interviewed was Mr. Jerry Waddell, who has 43 combined years of experience in law. He's worked as a district attorney, an elected judge, and the chief district court judge. He is now retired but has been commissioned to hold emergency court anywhere in the state of North Carolina.
Although each professional that we interviewed varied in professions and interactions with individuals 18 and older suffering from mental illness, each agreed that more needs to be done in regards to providing services to such an underserved population.
Each individual that we interviewed for this project stated that the mental health population, 18 and older, is greatly underserved. With the knowledge that they provided us, along with personal experiences and research of our own, Megan and I have come to the conclusion that more needs to be done to better serve our area. Although services are provided via Crossroads, RHA, Port, and the justice system, more resources need to be provided to this population. After much research, Megan and I have decided to make a few recommendations in order to better serve those 18 and older with a mental illness.
Jessica and I first recommend advocating for the passing of the Mental Health Reform Act of 2015. According to Mental Health America, this act will provide more screenings and evaluations, innovations to develop new evidence-based programs, and funding for community health programs, just to name a few. Funding that this act allocates for could allow New Bern to have a resource center. By advocating for educational awareness in the passing of this act, individuals 18 and older who suffer from mental illness, as well as their loved ones in New Bern, North Carolina, could finally be taken care of.
We also recommend annual trainings for professionals in order for them to be better educated when it comes to working with this population.
Although advocating for more education and the passing of the Mental Health Act will prove beneficial for this population, the fight on mental health will still not have been won. Advocacy for these individuals will need to be continuous, and knowledge regarding mental illness will always need to be addressed.